My buddy Justin and I love tabletop wargaming. Over the decades, we've built, painted, and played a whole slew of different games, stretching from the worlds of fantasy and ancient historicals to the war-torn grimdark of the far future. Between us, we've played just about everything Games Workshop has ever made, from their tabletop staples to obscure boxed products, board games and RPGs. But as so often happens, life takes over, time moves on, and your hobby passions get pushed further and further into the background. Well, this year we're shaking out the cobwebs to celebrate one game in particular that we think stands out in the GW library as being something really special. Something we both hold a lot of nostalgia and affection for and wanted to go back and either revisit in some way or visit for the first time. So come along with us on our little hobby journey as we challenge ourselves amidst our busy schedules to set foot in the streets of the ruined city once again and build a warband to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the game that birthed a genre, Mordheim. Alright, so last time I managed to get together the majority of my warband just from a single bag of bits that I managed to pick up off eBay. I managed to get a whole stack of verminkin, sort of 4 or 5 verminkin, plus a black skaven, all retro, all old hammer, all made out of this single bag of bits. So I've come off to a really good start already, but it's time, I think, to start actually forming this warband, starting to really get it together, because, you know, a handful of verminkin and a black skaven, a Mordheim warband does not make. We need some specialized units in this thing. We need to get some Clan Eschen influence into this warband to give it the real Mordheim flavor that I'm chasing. So it's time to actually start getting this warband formulated on paper. Let's get a warband roster sorted out. So I printed off a warband roster sheet and started to have a bit of a flip through the Mordheim book, looking through the Skaven section to see what am I missing, what do I need to add. I've got the core of my warband pretty much sorted out and done, but I need something more, some Clan Eschen. I need some specialized stuff. I need some ninja rats in here. And I was trawling through and I thought, you know what, we've got to have some night runners. We need to have some night runners. They're absolute dog shit in the game as a unit, but in terms of flavor, in terms of like getting that real Clan Eschen kind of feel into the warband, I think they're an absolute must. And so that led me to good old eBay once again, and I managed to track down a blister pack, an old hammer original blister pack of some Skaven metal gutter runners. These guys look fucking great, so cool, really old school retro miniatures, beautiful old school sculpts. I managed to pick them up for a really good price. Came in that lovely old red blister pack with the foam insert that we all remember seeing on the racks in Games Workshop stores, like, you know, 10 deep, walls and walls of these things that you just don't really see anymore. So even just seeing the packaging brought back a real sort of like slap of nostalgia that I hadn't felt for quite a long time looking at a Games Workshop box. So I'll be honest, like the collector in me, it broke my heart a little bit to tear this blister pack open, but I got in there anyway and we've got these rats out, and given that they're just the old school single piece metal sculpts, all they needed to have done to them was to be put on a base, and that's my night runners, my 2 night runners using the gutter runner models, and that's certainly started us off going down the road to getting some more specialized kind of Clan Eschen units into the warband. Now, we still need a leader for this merry band of ratmen. I still don't have an assassin adept. You've got to have one. I mean, you'd be crazy not to have one anyway, even if it was optional. I mean, that's what the Skaven warbands in Mordheim are all about. It's basically a bunch of lackeys that have barnacled themselves onto this one assassin adept. Now, there was a few different routes I could go for my assassin. I wasn't sure, because there's a lot of really good Oldhammer sculpts for assassins for Skaven, especially like from Warhammer Fantasy, from Mordheim itself, the old like Mordheim plastic kits that can be put together into the Skaven assassins. So I wasn't really sure which way to go. So I just jumped on eBay and just had a look at what was available. I just basically did a search for Skaven assassin and had a bit of a browse on what came up. And what caught my eye was the original metal Oldhammer piece of Deathmaster Snitch. Now, I thought, wow, what a cool fucking model as a centerpiece to have for this warband, having Deathmaster Snitch like actually in the warband. That particular iconic Skaven model would be so cool. So as happens on eBay, sometimes I got into a little bit of a bidding war on this Oldhammer Deathmaster Snitch model, and yeah, I had to bow out at some point. It just got way more pricey than I was willing to shell out for a single model for this little hobby project. So well done to whoever ended up winning that. I apologize for driving the price up on you, but I really wanted that Deathmaster Snitch model. But obviously whoever got it wanted it a lot more than me. But I came away from that like really disappointed for a couple of days. Actually, I was like, oh man, I would have loved to have that as the centerpiece for this warband. But that kind of got me thinking down the lore side of things about who this warband is. Like, what are they? Where do they come from? Why are they here? And I had this cool idea of having missed out on that Deathmaster Snitch model. I thought, how cool would it be if my assassin adept is going under the moniker of Deathmaster Snitch? How like fucking just so arrogant, so self-absorbed to think that he could prance around calling himself Deathmaster Snitch and have there be no comeuppance, that the word would not get back to the actual real Deathmaster, and you know, him meet an untimely end at some point, probably in the very near future. Hopefully Deathmaster Snitch has got a lot more on his plate to worry about than one upstart little adept assassin prancing around pretending to be the real deal. And I just got this like this image in my head of this like real Saturday morning cartoon kind of villain, like this real like, you know, Cobra Commander style, Skeletor style villain. This like real mustache twirler, super arrogant, a real Starscream kind of like, you know, real son of a bitch, you know, a real bastard who just thinks he's the hottest shit until things go really bad, and really then that shows that he's just an absolute bumbling buffoon and is all talk and no substance. And so that sort of started to form this this character for me in my mind of this assassin that's leading this warband, probably following him under the illusion that he actually is Deathmaster Snitch, and he's just trying to maintain this illusion, because if it breaks, they're probably going to eat him alive. So that led me again back to eBay, and I tracked down an old retro Oldhammer piece of one of the Warhammer Fantasy Skaven assassins that I really love. I mean, they're great sculpts. I really love them anyway. Even though I missed out on Snitch, I was really happy to get this. But ideally, it doesn't look anything like the Master Snitch, the Deathmaster Snitch model, and that was important to me. So I grabbed him, and I again a single piece. Got him secondhand off somebody who was selling him, and all that needed to be done was have him put on a base, and then my Deathmaster Snitch was all ready to go. And that's almost my warband pretty much done at this point. You know, I've got my Assassin Adept, I've got my Night Runners, I've got my Black Skaven Bodyguard, I've got my my Verminkin. And I'm looking at what we've got there, and I'm thinking like, there's room here for one more piece, you know, like I want one more thing, something in there. Like, I don't know, I felt like it was missing something. I didn't want a Rat Ogre, it just wasn't that kind of vibe for my warband. I wanted like more of a, again, like a real Clan Eshin kind of influence for this one. a real scrappy kind of thrown together, you know, following this assassin under you know, duress and misinformation. And so a rat ogre didn't really fit into that, I didn't think. But I thought, oh, I've got those in that bag of bits. I've got those rats, those giant rats. I believe they're from Hero Quest, as got pointed out to me on the last video. And I thought, oh, it would be cool to make use of these and actually have like a giant rat. Take a giant rat from the rulebook and have one of those in the warband as well. And given I don't have like just a you know, what I think is a good giant rat model, I could sort of put multiples of these onto one base and use that as like my giant rat, as like a trio of these Hero Quest rats. So that's exactly what I went ahead and did. So that's the warband pretty much done. The only last little job I had to do was that I noticed one of the verminkin I made last episode didn't have a tail, and you can't have a Skaven without a tail. Come on, that's ridiculous. But I don't have any more Skaven tail bits. I went diving through my bits box, couldn't find any. I used them all with what I got in that little bag. I didn't have any extras in my own bits box. So I had to get a little bit creative, and given that I gave one of them an axe hand last episode, I thought, hey, let's keep the self-mutilation train running, and we'll find something else to act as a tail. So I went into my bits box and I found like a hooked flail from I think it's like a chaos, one of the chaos kits, a chaos marauder kit or something along those lines. And I thought, oh, that'd be a really cool little rat tail. So I cut that up and I put some bends and some kinks into the plastic very gently. So I stuck that onto his backside, and now he's got like this sick fucking heavy metal hook and chain tail that I just thought looked awesome. And that is my little Skaven warband complete. If you're going by crowns, if you added up sort of points values, it's fairly well under cost. But given that I'm not playing on the tabletop with this particular warband, it's purely a painting and hobby project, I don't really mind that it comes in under points. I'm really happy with what I've managed to assemble here for very, very little money. And I think it just has a lot of character to it. You've got like a Skaven with an axe hand, you've got a Skaven with a hook and chain tail, you've got some dude pretending to be Deathmaster Snitch as he leads this band of delusional Skaven into the ruined city, probably with the Black Skaven, the only one who knows that he's putting it on and is there solely to keep him safe should things go awry and word gets out. But I'm really, really happy. I love it. I love my little Skaven warband. So now the next step is going to be to get these guys based and primed and ready for painting. But for that, you're going to have to wait for next episode. In the meantime, though, let's go and see what old Justin Time's got for us this time.
Howdy, folks. We are back with Mordheim. Mordheim. As you would expect, it's Rat Summer or Brat Summer maybe. No, it's Rat Summer, and it must be Rat Summer or Rat Spring, because is it? Hang on. No, it's Brat Summer. It's Rat Spring, and because that whole Rat Boy thing is something that people love. my good pal Jamie has obviously gone for those dirty, rotten, hairy goblins. The Scape. To be expected, I guess. You've seen him. Anyway, after I saw that he was taking rats on, I sort of sat down and I thought, what exactly... Like, I sort of thought of this this army that I was going to use my City of Sigmar stuff with, and I just wondered, is that appropriate? Maybe I should just use a house cat or some mouse traps and just make that my army. Just go and buy 30 mouse traps, paint them nicely, and then sit them around the town of Mordheim just to catch these rat bastards as they go through town. But we'll come back to that. We'll come back to exactly what I've done with my army. Now, you'll have to excuse me. I'm looking down at notes all of the time because memory is not something that I do very well, so I've actually written myself a whole lot of notes. Mordheim's a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, like, you look at the online community of Mordheim players, and there's so many people who just love it as a product. And Games Workshop have resisted releasing it, and they seem to skirt around it with you know, like Warhammer Underworlds is obviously like, it's almost like Magic the Gathering with minis. And it's kind of leaning into that sort of smaller game that is more appropriate, like Mordheim. And you got Warcry, and sure, Warcry and Kill Team are like both those sort of mini skirmishy games, and they've got a little bit of sort of campaign nonsense going on with them. So, you know, again, kind of skirting around Mordheim, and then Spearhead. So Spearhead has come out, and you've got like Age of Sigmar, Scaventide. It's actually like, it's a rat box. This is literally a rat box. There's so many bloody rats in here, it's not even funny. And what they've done is that in Scaventide, they don't just have like your models for being able to play Age of Sigmar. What they've also got in here is that they've thrown in, and this is part of the reason why the cost is so massive, they've thrown in Fire and Jade. So Fire and Jade is, you can take the minis from that big box and make small, it's sort of the sound of all of the miniatures collapsing. You can take the minis from that box and just create these smaller Spearhead armies, and this is like a campaign book. Like, it's almost like, it's just make Mordheim. Just call this Mordheim. You could have had this thing with the Sigmarites and what are they called? Sigmarites, is that what they're called? And the Skaven, and made this a Mordheim book. You know, that would have been so good, and people would have loved it. Actually, no, that's not true. The Warhammer community would have universally hated it. But it would have, if you could have modernized the Mordheim rules and stuck that in here instead. This is still pretty cool, and the miniatures are freaking gorgeous. I just love the miniatures in here. It's like that. That is a magnificent box. The new rules are a beautiful book, and you know, like, it's a 9 million page book with like 36 pages of instructions, which I know that people dig the lore, but I don't get why you'd do that much. You could probably shave a massive amount of the price off just by not having that gigantic book. You know, Warhammer Plus should surely act as some sort of a supplement, because they'd be wanting people to do that. So surely they could have want to learn more about the lore. Anyway, but yeah, so I prefer these smaller games, mainly because I'm a fairly slow painter. It's taken me, I've got about 2,000 points of Space Marines, Hammers of Door Space Marines. I've got so that's my chaplain on bike. Can't really see it very well. Does that help? No. Anyway, so I've got about 2,000 points of that in the old money. And it took me ages to do that. Put it this way, it took me so long that this is my dreadnought. Like, I've got an old school dreadnought to be my dreadnought for that army. That's how long that army has taken me to build. So smaller games are cool for me because I like the fact that 8 minis, done. I don't have to paint, like, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 units in that army, and it took me that long. And now I'm starting an Ultramarine army because I want to do them to look like sort of 90s, the way I used to paint in the 90s with the bright green bases and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously, one of the, like, it's not just the small amount, obviously the financial side of it is also a reason to love a smaller game. And I guess that Games Workshop are potentially realizing that when they're doing what they're doing, that, like, sometimes those price points are a bit cost prohibitive, so it's a little bit worthwhile them doing a smaller game where they can still get the movement, and still get the financial movement, and that stuff can be expanded into the greater world. It's not like Space Hulk, where you can use your Gene Stealers and your Terminators as minis for other games, but realistically that's more like a proper board game. And you know, there's a lot of competition in that smaller game market now as well. You know, like I've written a couple of down here, like Corvus Belli or whatever it is, Warcrow, one-page rules. It's one of those things where those smaller games are becoming more popular because it's like you don't have to go and buy one of those gigantic fucking boxes to carry all of your minis and everything around. You can literally just put them into a small case and get there and whip out your dice and your stuff and start getting started. So, and you can have multiple armies too. Like a lot of us like the artistic part of the thing, and doing a smaller army is a lot more fun. You know, like I'm currently painting. So I've almost finished that Hammers of Dawn. I've got like 2 miniatures left to do, 2 or 3 miniatures left to do over there, I think. I'm doing an Ultramarines army, which is going to be about another 2,000 to 3,000 points, roughly. I've got an Ogre army, so a Destruction army, and it's being led by Kragnos. I've got a very, very small Orc army that I've just sort of ended up with by random. I've got a Heednets of Slaanesh army, and I've just bought Cities of Sigmar, which is what I'm using for our Mordheim experiment. I've also got the Dark Oath box, and I'm also got the Leagues of Votann box as well. So, like, I'm doing a whole pile of, and that's not to mention just like the random Sigmarite stuff. Like, I'm doing these ones sort of like they're 90s Ultramarines. And then, you know, I've got some Necrons to do as well. So, like, I've got a lot of and that's not counting the stuff that's not Warhammer. That's just my Warhammer stuff. Like, you can see behind me here that I've got, like, I'd love to paint the Doom. I'd love to paint the Dead by Daylight box. I'd love to paint the Cyberpunk stuff. The Sniper Elite down here. I'd love to paint those ones. I've got the Devil May Cry one down here. Where is it? There. I've got that there. And that's just a couple of I've got hundreds of board games, and a lot of those are sort of Ameritrash ones that have heaps of minis in them. I've started even painting like my Cthulhu Death May Die, and like if I had the capital, I'd go and buy that $800 gigantic Cthulhu. God knows what I'd do with it. I mean, and that's not counting like just the model kits that I've got to paint, because you can sort of see here. This is a Leader Hesperax killing an Ultramarine in a statue form. And then I've got a pile of stuff over here to paint all sorts of bits and pieces. Anyway, enough about my pile of opportunity. It's not a pile of shame, because I am not shamed by it. Every single time I paint something, it makes me a slightly better painter. So what we're going to do is, I've gone through the Cities of Sigmar colour schemes, and I'm going to go for a reddish sort of a colour scheme with my guys. I haven't painted any of them yet except for my Ogre. Now I'm going to have to lean out for a second because I didn't prepare myself well and my minis are still over here. So I'm going to start going through, missing out on seeing my beautiful face with that microphone there. I've named all my characters. I've got a pile of them here. So my army has ended up being only 6 minis, which is great. It means it's only 6 minis for me to paint. And I'm going to introduce them all one by one. And I'll start at the top. I've even given them names because I figured that this is a game about the personality of the characters. It's not like just like, here's my millions of people in my army. These are 5 people with lives. And like, if you're playing Mordheim in sort of a campaign mode, you can sort of make those characters grow and expand and get a little bit more interesting. So what I have here, so this is my Elder. This is Sir Johann Grosswurst. He's worth 60 points. He's got a sword, which is 10 points. He's got a shield, which is 5 points, and I've given him heavy armor for 50 points. So that makes him 125 points. Cool miniature from out of the Cities of Sigmar box. I really, really like that one. So I've got 2 Blood Brothers. I've got Peter Sechslal and Fritz Langerkerl. They're 70 points each, and I've given them axes. Technically, the minis have warhammers. Not technically. Definitively, the miniatures have warhammers. So, yeah, these are my Blood Brothers, which is pretty cool. They're pretty awesome miniatures as well. Because I'm going to be using these in my Cities of Sigmar army, I don't want to... I know that Jamie went to a lot of trouble of snipping and cutting and you know, in various other ways molesting the rats. But I'm going to be using these in my Sigmar army, and I want warhammers. The game's called Warhammer, for fuck's sake. I want warhammers in my army. So next I've got my Ogre. Now this is actually from my Destruction army that I've already started to paint. So this is a fully painted one. His name is Grosser Fleischjunge. He's 160 points. He's got a mace and a sword for 13 points and light armor for 20 points. So that is him. Painted in grimdark style, which is what I'll do all of them. They're all going to be that sort of style. So that's him there. Now I've got a priest of Tal. So this is my magic user, and I don't know if I'll use this particular mini yet. I might go and buy a wizard. This came in the Cities of Sigmar box as well. I should point out that those Blood Brothers came in the Cities of Sigmar box as well. But the priest of Tal, I've actually used I think it's the War Master is what they're called in the Cities of Sigmar box. His name is Vater Heinz Grosse Bruster. So yeah, that's going to be him. That's him there. He's a pretty cool little dude. I love this smoke coming out of his brazier or brazier. Brazier? Which one is it? Brazier or brazier? Either way, it's got some hot stuff in it. But yeah, so that's going to be my father. And then finally, I've got one kin. Now you can actually arm the kin with a handgun. I don't have any things with a handgun in anywhere around. Again, I might look at changing this miniature, but this is just where it is. So this is David Tropschlong. What I've used is the Fusiliers. Again, reaching over so you can't. So I've grabbed this box set because I wanted this for my Cities of Sigmar anyway. And so he's a pretty cool. So he's got like it's like a gun on a stick, with a lantern on it, and it's mounted on a shield. This is my boomstick. I should have called him Ash Williams, perhaps. But yeah, so that's David Tropschlong. So he's going to be my kin. He's worth 25 points with the handgun, 15 points. Obviously, I've sort of... I don't think that Games Workshop would allow me to play with these guys in one of their official doodads, because I'm not using miniatures that are appropriate and converted and stuff like that. But I don't want to convert these guys because they're part of another army. Jamie and I are doing this as a separate thing. I'd rather not spend money doing others, like buying too much stuff that I'm never going to use again. I'd rather just sort of use these and then paint them up for what's going to be the rest of my army. And I think also that it creates a bit of a nice juxtaposition from Jamie using some cool Oldhammer stuff. And those rats conversions that he did, like, I'm so impressed with how good they looked when he finished. Like, it's really, really cool. But yeah, my next step with these guys is going to be obviously to paint them. And that will be the next video. It will take me a while because I'm a slow painter, but also what I can do is, because they're going to be of similar colors, I can batch paint them. So that will make that a little bit easier. I did consider airbrushing them, but I just don't think I'm a good enough airbrusher yet to do that. But I'll probably batch paint these guys, and I'll explain my color choices a little bit better. I actually went through the Cities of Sigmar book to find what, because Cities of Sigmar, there's like all different cities that are placed all over the world, and so it was finding the one that would fit what I wanted. You know, like, I'm having an ogre in here, so I've got to make sure that it was a group that were happy to have ogres. My biggest disappointment with this list was, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the previous video, is that ogres can't take ballistic weapons. And because I have a brand new ogre model over there that I would love to do, and it's an ogre hunter, and he's got a crossbow, but it's like a fucking ballista because ogres, right? So yeah, it was a bit of a bummer. But yeah, so that's where I am with the next step. Mordheim, you're supposed to have 500 points in your army, 506. If I had to trim, I'd probably... Oh, geez, I don't know what I'd do. I'd possibly take... Yeah, I don't know where I'd move it. Maybe I'd make David Tropschlong not with a handgun, and then give him different weapons, and that would take me to like 498, and use a different mini. But you know, I've got like, I could even use this guy has like a surf. The City of Sigmar leader has like a surf that you can use with him. So maybe I would use that surf and give him a mace. The surf model's really cool because he's got a stick with a zombie head in it. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, so that's where we are with my Mordheim thing so far. We are going to get those painted, and that will be in the next video, and I'll discuss what colours I've used and what painting way that I have done. I actually have two models that I need to finish first. One is a Dark Oath Queen, and one is a pretty big Demon Sun dude, which I'm halfway through. So yeah, so that's it. I will see you next time. And yeah, don't trust a rat. Never trust a rat. No matter how much they say, trust me, I'm a rat. Don't trust a rat. Bye, y'all.